It's 3:15, Tuesday afternoon. You're listening to Ben Fordham on 2GB. Housing affordability. What about this? Sydney homes are the second least affordable in the world. This is according to a new report. An American research firm, Demographia, has released its International Housing Affordability Survey. Now, Sydney house prices are almost 13 times higher than the median household income. And only Hong Kong, housing in Hong Kong, is the only place where housing is more expensive than Sydney. The New South Wales government has got a bit of a rap recently for making housing affordability a top priority, but the market in Sydney is still so unaffordable for the average person. On the line, Martin North, the market analyst with Digital Financial Analytics. Martin North, good afternoon to you.
Hello, Ben. How are you going?
Good. I know I should be shocked and surprised, but I'm not. We live in one of the greatest cities on earth.
Well, it's a great place to live, isn't it? And, of course, people want to live here, but there's a lot going on below the waterline, which explains why we have impossibly high home prices. And the average Australian now will find it very, very difficult to buy in Sydney. And, of course, it's not just Sydney, it's Melbourne and some of the other places too. So we have a structural issue in Australia with regard to housing.
Still, does it come as a shock, do you think, to a lot of people that we are the second least affordable city in the world?
Well, it shouldn't be. It's interesting. This survey is published every year, and we've been tracking this rising trend over the last 4, 5, 6 years. So this is not new news in a way. It's just that it's even worse this time around. But then you need to also think about other factors, like, for example, the amount of household debt that we have. We have some of the most indebted households in the world as well. And if you look then at flat incomes and pressure on household budgets, all of those things too. It's all coming together. It's a bit like a tsunami of multiple factors all coming together and just putting a lot of pain on households.
Our politicians have been doing their best to get it on the agenda, both federally and also at a state level. They seem to talk about supply, but surely the solution goes beyond that.
Well, yeah, supply is definitely part of the problem, but it's weird. I mean, if you compare Hong Kong, right? Hong Kong, very high population, very little land, right? In Australia, we have massive amounts of land, and yet we've got very high home prices. So there's something else going on here. Clearly, there's a question of land release and all those things, but you have to step back a little bit, and basically there are a few factors. The most critical one, I think, is that we've come to see property as a financial asset rather than somewhere to live. So essentially, it's all about growth and, making money on the properties. So that's the first factor. The second factor is that we have 36% of all properties for investment purposes, which means that effectively more people are taking a punt on the future movement of home prices and putting more money into the market. And of course, they're chasing first-time buyers and other types of buyers too. And then you've got foreign buyers also buying into the market. So there's a lot of demand for property, a lot of it from that financialization of property. But at the end of the day, a property has to be firstly somewhere to live, I think. And that's probably the first point. The second point, of course, is that we've got banks who are very willing and free to lend at the moment, even after the recent tightenings. So people have been able to get ever larger mortgages, to chase ever higher home prices, to get ever larger mortgages. So we've got this upward cycle of home prices. And if you're in the market and you've got properties, then of course it's great, because the more properties go up, the more wealthy that you feel you are. But the question is, will that go on forever? It can't really go on forever. We've got now to the point where I think things are going to change, and it's going to be an uncomfortable ride for those people with property, and those who don't yet have property but want to get into the market have still got, I think, a long way to go.
Yeah, big case of the haves and the have-nots, sadly. Good to talk to you, Martin. We'll talk again.
Good to talk to you.
Martin North, the market analyst with Digital Financial Analytics. So to those who are trying to bust into the Sydney property market and think, I just can't afford this, well, you're right, you can't.